Yo, what's up guys? We are back for Rent-A-Girlfriend 407. I'm conflicted. There's a lot of things going on in my mind after this chapter. You know, Ruka is best girl in my eyes, but sadly, I don't know what's gonna happen with her character. This chapter, we just kind of get more of her internal monologue, what she's thinking about, and yeah, let's just hop straight into it. So off the last few chapters, if you aren't caught up with Rent-A-Girlfriend, because why would you be? Basically, Ruka was trying to get frisky, right? And do the deed, right? But Kazuya, being the gallant, Chizuru-loving man that he is, decides to push her away. And yeah, that's kind of what happened, and we're moving on with the story, right? Here we're getting when Ruka stormed off, right? She was kind of mad or whatever because Kazuya was still thinking of Chizuru, and as she's running off, we see she is checking her pulse, right? She's checking her heartbeat. Her whole narrative or like story design was based around that, oh, she has a very low heart rate and that no matter what she did, she could never get it, you know, decently high, right? You know, she's like an ice queen, I guess. I don't know. Basically, since going way back when Ruka first got introduced in the story, after the whole like weird double date that they had, and his name's Curry, right? Like the little mole looking guy. Once they had their like little like double date or whatever, and Ruka confronted Kazuya about the whole situation, she was like falling off stairs or some steps, and Kazuya goes and saves the day. This is like way back. This is like in between chapters like 10 and like 20. It's like around like very early stages of Rent-A-Girlfriend. And after this happens, Ruka checks her pulse, and we get this whole backstory with her, like she has, you know, some heart condition, and this is like the highest it's ever been. And this is like kind of why she falls in love with Kazuya. Nothing in the world gets her heart racing, and she thinks it's love, right? So that's kind of her character. And yeah, we're still saying that, hey, you know, her heart is racing here, and she's still thinking the exact same way, that it must be love, right? You know, maybe it's love for real, but it does not seem like too much love from Kazuya's side. But yeah, I'll just throw up some panels of this chapter, some previous chapters maybe. But yeah, she's basically just talking about how, you know, her heart was racing, and that, you know, when they were in the heat of the moment, Kazuya could only think of her. I don't know, bro. Why am I still reading this? Why am I still reading this, bro? I need to pack it up. It's like I decided to get off League of Legends to read this chapter, which I mean, both are really bad. They're both bad decisions. I need to rethink my life. But that's besides the point. Ruka, right? She's like, oh, he was so cute and he looks so vulnerable. I mean, dude, yeah, just if you haven't read the chapter, basically Kazuya busted himself while Ruka was on top of him. And that's kind of it. And now I think what's going to happen in the story is Ruka is going to go and, you know, bother Chizuru for a little bit until she gets completely shut out of the story. And that's kind of that. But yeah, most of this chapter is basically just her thinking to herself. And the main reason I'm thinking that Ruka is going to start some drama with Chizuru over the situation is because of what happened in the past and what she's thinking about in this chapter, right? Back in Hawaiian's Paradise arc, when they went on that whole group trip and we had like a whole crash out of, you know, basically everyone found out that Kazuya and Chizuru weren't actually dating, right? He was renting her out. And basically during that time, Ruka, because like from way back, she had like a condom wrapper, right? Because she was trying to get frisky with Kazuya. You know, earlier in the series, nothing happened then, of course, but she went and signed the wrapper, I don't know, and then she gave it to Chizuru. And just to like kind of piss her off a little bit, start just a little bit of beef with her. And that's like her firepower saying, oh, you know, I'm still with him, I'm his actual girlfriend, so yada, 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 stuff like that. Right? But now, you know, we're kind of mirroring that same situation, but this time, you know, I wouldn't say she has proof, but like Kazuya can't like deny any of this. And also right now Kazuya is saying to Ruka, hey, don't tell Mizuhara about any of this. And that's a whole nother thing. But Ruka is thinking to herself, oh, if he's telling me not to tell her about this whole situation, that means that they're not a real couple, right? But since he's telling me this, that means that they have to be, you know, together in some capacity. And yeah, the thing is that Ruka really doesn't know what's going on between Chizuru and Kazuya right now. You know, she has no idea that they have been living together for the past few months, you know, because every single time Kazuya says, oh, we can't hang out at my place, but they still went on like dates, you know, outside, but never to the place, right? This was the first time Ruka came over to Kazuya's place in a while, and this is kind of what sparked the whole, you know, this whole weird situation that's been going on for the past few chapters. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. But yeah, I mean, really, like I said, this chapter is of Ruka and her feelings on what she's thinking, right? And for the most part, she's just like, what would happen if I told Chizuru about what just happened today, what I just did with Kazuya? You know, she would even be shocked, right? You know, she does go and say some crazy stuff to Kazuya. She's like, oh, I'm okay with being second. Because Kazuya's like, I can't chunky with you right now because for reasons, because of Chizuru. And then yeah, Ruka goes and says, I'm okay with being second. In this internal monologue right now, she's saying, you know, I was being completely serious with what I was saying back there. I don't want to ever leave Kazuya. But then she's also thinking, you know, but if I'm lucky, you know, maybe, you know, maybe she could, you know, steal him for herself. Maybe she can force them to break up, you know, right? This moment she's thinking about just calling them right now. But, you know, she just gets so, it's just, I don't know, man. I just feel bad for Ruka's character a little bit. You know, she's just like a maiden lost in love. And we have like a nincompoop, you know, protagonist. I don't know if she's really mistaken, at least at the beginning of the series, on if she's in love or not, but Kazuya isn't really reciprocating the feelings. It's just like kind of hard to read, hard to watch. You know, all this time, she's just been madly in love and Kazuya's just not with it, right? You know, he's with it a little bit when it comes to physical stuff, but he's not really there for the long haul, but at the same time, he's like not trying to completely cut her off. And that's kind of the dilemma with Ruka's character. The problem I have with it is, you know, Kazuya really could have just cut her off. You know, honestly, Rent-A-Girlfriend would have been the exact same series if Ruka wasn't in it. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. That's kind of all I can say about that. Like, she's kind of, it really feels like a useless plot point at this point in the series. You know, I get that it was a good way to introduce a few characters, build the whole world, the whole premise of the story at the beginning stages, but it's just kind of like Sumi. Like, if you really think about it, what really have they done importance-wise? If I had to argue who was more important in the series, I would honestly say Sumi, because of what she did and where I feel like the series really should have ended. Yeah, I mean, I'll talk a little bit about that. Like, personally, I think the series should have ended right after the movie arc. I feel like that is like right after that whole thing happened, Chizuru crying scene. You know, that is like peak Rent-A-Girlfriend, the best it could have ever been. You know, it's a bad series, but that's the best it could have been. But we just started dragging it out past that. And during that whole movie arc, the main kind of facilitator in having Kazuya build up the confidence to, you know, comfort Chizuru in that time was Sumi. So that's why I honestly think she's a better character than Ruka. And especially just because Ruka just got completely shafted. Like, honestly, I would have liked to seen Mommy's character be as present as Ruka's character. I'd rather like switch how much they're in the series, but it is what it is. This is where we're at in Rent-A-Girlfriend. And yeah, Ruka is the losing heroine, or how do you say it? I don't know, but you know, doesn't look like she's gonna win. We could, you know, something's gonna happen sooner or later. I'm guessing sooner. You know, maybe she really does pull the trigger and tries to break them apart, tries to break Chizuru and Kazuya apart, and maybe during this time, Mommy shows up again. I don't know, raises more havoc, and then this is where Chizuru is like, no, I actually love Kazuya. But who knows? God damn, bro, there's still half a chapter left. Yeah, whatever. Second half of the chapter, basically just Kazuya thinking to himself about what went down. Yeah, I don't know, bro. Kazuya is actually just a horn dog, bro. Like, there's just nothing to say here. I mean, read the chapter if you want, dude. It's just, you're gonna be disappointed. Oh, basically during this whole time, Kazuya's at work and thinking about this, right? Daydreaming, I guess. But yeah, sooner or later, Ruka shows up. They no longer work together, but Ruka is just, you know, she appears. I don't know if she's just trying to, I don't know what she's doing, to be honest with you. I don't know if she just randomly showed up here. Nothing is really explained in that sense. But yeah, she's basically here and she's all, you know, she's dressed up in like casual wear. And during this time, Kazuya is just being a degenerate. I don't know how else to put it. Saying that, oh, she's a whole different person from yesterday, but she's still sexy. It's just like, I don't know, bro. I don't know, man. Yeah, but basically what we get a little short interaction between them. You know, Kazuya is acting like a cornball and he's just blushing, looks embarrassed. And Ruka does notice this, right? And then she goes and says something that refers to yesterday with, I don't know what that kind of thing means to a man, but I'm going to carry on as usual. And she's like squeezing his arm, acting all lovey-dovey towards him. You know, Kazuya's freaking out, whatever. But right as this happens, someone opens the door, and who is it? You know, not Chizuru, it is Umi-kun. And that's the end of the chapter. You know, this one was a packed one, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff I didn't really care about. But Umi-kun being here was very much a surprise for me. The last time we got any interaction with him was after Chizuru rejected him, right? And Kazuya got a phone call from him saying that, oh, I've been rejected by Chizuru. You don't need to worry about me. And of course, Umi knows how, you know, Chizuru feels. but he doesn't know the whole situation on Kazuya's end, so I'm assuming that's what we're gonna get here. Or what we get here is some crazy thing that happens, being, you know, Ruka goes and steps in and says, oh, I'm his girlfriend, and then maybe Umi reports this back to Chizuru. Maybe she says, oh, you know, we just did the deed yesterday. I don't know, bruh. I don't know what's gonna happen. But I think some big explosion's about to happen here, right before Chizuru is about to, you know, confess her feelings to Kazuya. And this is just gonna stir up a little bit more drama. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I can say. That's what I think is gonna happen in the future. You know, we're basically just stalling for Chizuru's response, or, you know, I don't know if she's going to say that she is in love, if she's gonna confess. I don't know what's gonna happen there. Probably, most likely, that makes the most sense. But I think for that to happen, we're gonna have some big, you know, intense moment to occur. But yeah, I mean, that's really about it, man. Rent-A-Girlfriend 407. We've been going on for way too long, but that's, you know, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. That's just how this series is. But yeah, if you want to see me cover more of these chapters, definitely subscribe and like this video, and comment, please comment if you know, had any intellectual takes or some theories on Rent-A-Girlfriend. But yeah, other than that, if you are into romance, comedy, manga, I mean, that's what I talk about on my channel. So yeah, subscribe for that stuff. But with that being said, that's about it. So I'll see y'all.